fabric. I paid for an expensive one. U.S. Soccer's coaching license pathway. So there's so many more licensing than what this shows, but here's the basic channel, the pathway to excellent. You get your F, then your E, then your D, your C, then the B, then the goalkeeping, then the A, then the academy director, and then the pro coaching license. There's always going to be another one. Why? Because people pay for this crap. And a lot of coaches coach in clubs, and part of being in that club, they'll pay for your licensing. Who pays for that? The kids that can afford it. And it's such a business game, and everyone wants a piece of it. And I get it. We're all trying to survive and make money, right? And a lot of the money is in U.S. Soccer. It's within clubs and stuff. So we're going to create gimmicks, whatever, a ACL prevention program, and they're going to pay for it, and that just makes them look good, and they get more registration. Or we have A licensed coaches, so therefore we're the best. Anyways, it doesn't make you the best, but this whole pathway garbage is, I can't stand it. I'm done with it. It's information that's confusing. What matters is about development. We live in a country where it's so focused on making sales and all that stuff. The whole licensing program is a farce. It is not good for what we're trying to do to develop kids in this country at all. Why do you think that, Coach Cameron? Well, I think it because it's a good academic program for tactics. We're good with tactics. The problem is we have no players that can play into their tactics, so the tactics are simplified and the game gets ugly. Players can't think on their own. The reason we can't develop players that play the 10, we can't create Martas or Messis. How in heaven's name are we not producing those players in this country? How's that even possible? There's so many people in this country, so many. We are the most diverse country in the world, and we can't produce those kind of players. Why? Because the system is flawed. So this is what you get. So I remember they're hosting a C license course at Phoenix College. I was hosting it, and I got the license for free. I had to pass the class. And this is what you do. Yay! Look, so if you're on my YouTube channel, you can see what I'm putting up. Here is this is talking about all the things to do a perfect session. You have to have a bunch of cones. You have to have a rectangular grid. But if you have a square grid, you're going to fail that license. And if you don't have proper progression, all the way to the 7-on-7 game with goalkeepers, you will fail the course. You have to have objectives and all these. Thank you. Yeah. So and I'm not gonna lie. Through all my licensing courses, I learned a lot as far as how I can administer it and make my sessions look good. And I really thought at times, I'm like, oh yeah, now they're gonna get it. I can really teach them how to play tactics, like how to have shape and all these things. And what I realized after I tried to institute these things, the kids couldn't do it because they couldn't trap. They couldn't do all these things. So I simplified how I coached. I threw everything they taught me out the window, and I went to the most important thing. And I focus on these things. One, they have to master the ball. And until then, I'm not moving on as the priority. I would dribble, 1v1. The goal was, can they handle pressure in a 5x5 grid, 5 yard by 5 yard grid, and not lose a ball with 3 people trying to take it away for at least 3 seconds. That's my mentality, because if they could keep the ball and not lose it under pressure, especially in 1v1, that should never happen, ever. If they can do that, the rest is easy. And I remember I was coaching the 96 Hammers. I always reference them because I put a lot of time and energy into those players and produce a lot of players. We dribble, and we go 4 days a week, because I'm like, we have to go 4 days a week. I would go more if it was allowed. And then we played 2-3 games on the weekend. So we were together forever. And they weren't technical enough, because I want to play soccer to be able to beat anybody anytime. And the only way you can beat everyone in the country in your age group or whatever, you have to be able to keep the ball because there's always going to be a team that's bigger, faster than you. So think about that for a second with what I just said. If everyone's playing the same systems that's given by U.S. Soccer, the most athletic team will win. How stupid is that? You have to be able to think out of the box. You have to be able to change it because tactics can always find a way to destroy the tactics of your opposition. It's always going to be that way. So if you can create a bunch of individuals that can actually keep the ball under pressure and slow things down to the pace you wanted to go, you have no shot. That's why you have teams like Serbia or Croatia making it to the World Cup final. How is that small little region in the world? It's not even bigger than Arizona, not even Phoenix, Arizona. It's smaller than Phoenix, Arizona, able to make the MLS final. Oh, it's because they had the best tactics and the most athletic players in the world. No. They are able to dictate the game according to the technique they learned on the streets of Serbia or whatever. They are able to produce players in that country because they're doing something right. We don't do things that are right in this country. We're all about tactics. And when you're playing tactics where it's like play the ball to the 9, drop it to the 10, get it back, get it to the 7 or 11, and then switch to the point of attack and find the opposite side, kind of crap. We're gonna play up, back, and through, whatever. It's too much tactics. The game doesn't have timeout. The game is truly about the players. Make it about the players. They have to make decisions. So the licensing should stop catering to coaches and make them feel good. Oh, this is how you run a proper session. This is how we make you look organized. So when parents are watching, you look like you know what you're talking about, versus less organized and more managing the environment. It needs to be a numbers game, ladies and gentlemen. It needs to be a numbers game because when you have licensing, it truly makes you feel like you could be the best coach in the world, like this guy. So the U.S. men's national team coach, look at this goofball. He thinks tactics can beat the world. Berhalter is a confused man. He thinks he can teach possession and build out of the back like it's youth soccer or something like that. Because why does he think that? Because he's under the same development as every coach in this country. There's no logic. He really thinks he can outthink. He can outthink these smaller countries. He can outthink Mexico. But what he doesn't understand is when you have players that can solve problems on their own, they make a difference. And what we do in this country, you know what we do in this country? We take those players that can solve problems and we take them away from the environment they're from, their Hispanic community or wherever they're from, where they're being developed in a free-thinking society, and we pull them over to another team that's not from the culture of soccer to help them win, and then being denied in their development because no longer are they playing that player. They're not playing the 10 anymore. They're not playing. And if you see that in this country, it's because they're breaking the rules, and we need more rule breakers in the United States. We have the talent. We destroy it time and time again. You know how early we can identify talent in soccer? 7. Easily 7. I've seen 5-year-olds who are just freaks. Something happens to them. I got example after example in the Hispanic community on the female side. I've seen so many females that were sick. I've seen a female. I won't mention her name. Yeah, I will. Anayi. She was a player that I recruited to play for my daughter's O2 team. My daughter was the only white girl. I grabbed all Hispanic girls I could play, and she came from the playing with boys. She could dribble everybody on the field. She would put the ball, and this is at age 10, when she was 10, putting the ball in between players' legs on purpose. Just high-level thinking. I've seen so many girls like that. And then when they get to like 12, 13, 14 into high school, it becomes tactics, and then they're obsolete. They're useless, and they think they suck. It's because especially on the women's side, it's all tactics. You're not allowed to think on your own at all. It's sad. And for the ones that don't understand what I'm talking about, I apologize for not being able to get you to really understand what's going on. But what we're doing is wrong. We put more and more money on coaching, development, making them feel good about what they are and how they can look good for their parents versus the player. And it's a big problem. And it's the pay to play. It's not just pay to play on some certain club. It's worse than that. When you have, I've seen this in Arizona, if you can't, back when DA was alive, you can't play DA. You can't put a team in DA or be accepted by DA, even though you have teams that can compete at the national level. And Tuzos had a ton of those. I think Tuzos the last team to win nationals in Arizona. They make the rules. You have to have 7 A-licensed coaches, or you have to have an A-licensed coach to coach the DA team. And they didn't have it. Can't do it. Even though you have the best players and best teams, you can't do it. You don't have the certification. Do you see the problem? So we're going to just keep doing this. And everyone's like all excited. Oh, they got MLS. Oh my gosh, they got the MLS Academy. Oh, we're going to be part of the MLS Academy, and we got a pathway to MLS. It's the same freaking people running the show, different name, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing's changed until we change our thought process and make a priority that playing a certain style, the freedom of thinking, and we reward players for individual development as far as being successful of handling the ball under pressure, connecting passes, going forwards and backwards, and not losing it, and be able to make good decisions and record it mathematically that way. We're in big trouble. Big trouble. We're not developing anything. And I get some of you are like, oh, I've seen it. No, listen, goofballs. This country should have thousands upon thousands of technical players that are freaks. I've seen pockets of it. I've seen a team in California. It was all Hispanic coaching staff, and I was shocked. They played like Barcelona. Like, they were embarrassing the opposition. This was I was in LA at the convention when the convention was there for NSCA. And on Sunday, I went and watched this team play, and I was just like, are you kidding me? And like 8 of them were D1 everywhere. All Hispanic. But they're one of the rare groups that have that. But there's so many technical players that we just don't get. And the NCAA, that pathetic organization, they make it so difficult for kids to qualify for Division I out of high school. It just, and even from junior college, they have a problem too. The mob, go after the NCAA. You can call them racist. Be easier to stick with them. Anyways, I'm done here. I hope you enjoyed this segment of Angry Coach Cameron. I'll be back for more anger tomorrow, talking about same stuff, because it needs to be said over and over and over again. We have a problem. U.S. soccer is a problem. Buy a shirt. Wear it with pride. U.S. soccer is a problem. It needs to be fixed. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.